In October 2019, 4 friends drove into the Cascade Mountains for a weekend camping trip. Only 3 came back, and none of them could remember what happened to the 4th. Marcus, Derek, Sarah, and Tom had been planning this trip for months. They'd rented a cabin near a remote hiking trail, packed their gear, and hit the road on a Friday evening. By all accounts, the first night was normal. They set up camp, made a fire, drank beer, and talked about their lives back in the city. But Saturday morning, something was wrong. When they woke up in their tents, they all felt disoriented. Not hungover, disoriented. Their watches had stopped. The cabin's clocks had stopped. Even their phones, which had died overnight despite being fully charged, wouldn't turn back on. Derek remembered looking at his watch at 11:47 p.m. before going to bed. When they found it again Saturday morning, the time was still 11:47 p.m. They didn't panic at first. They figured it was some kind of equipment malfunction. But then Sarah realized something worse. She couldn't remember Marcus. She kept asking where Marcus was. And here's the thing. Marcus was standing right there. She'd look directly at him and ask the others where he was. Marcus would try to talk to her, try to get her attention, and she'd look straight through him like he was invisible. Tom tried to calm everyone down. He suggested they pack up and leave. But when they looked for Marcus's tent, they couldn't find it. His sleeping bag was gone. His backpack was gone. The spot where his tent had been was just empty forest floor, with pine needles undisturbed. Derek pulled out his phone to check the photos from the previous day. There were pictures of the 4 of them at dinner. There were pictures of them setting up camp. But in every single photo, Marcus wasn't in any of them. He'd been there that whole time. They all remembered him being there. But the evidence said otherwise. Sarah's inability to see Marcus lasted about 3 hours. Then, suddenly she snapped back to normal. She could see him again, hear him, acknowledge him. But her memory of anything Marcus had said was completely blank. It was like a section of her mind had been erased. When they drove back down the mountain that afternoon, they stopped at a ranger station to report the equipment failures and the strange memory issues. The ranger looked at them confused and asked why they were reporting it to him. He said they'd called ahead on Friday to cancel their reservation. He had a record of it, a cancellation call that came in at 11:47 p.m. None of them made that call. Marcus has lived with this for 5 years now. He's seen therapists who couldn't explain it. He's had neurological tests that came back normal. But he knows something happened in those mountains. Something that made him invisible. Something that made time collapse. And the worst part, on the anniversary of that trip, all 3 of his friends start forgetting him again. It lasts for exactly 3 hours. And each time it happens, Marcus loses another memory. Another piece of himself.
Just as their own, dated 3 days in the future. The Hendersons thought it was a prank. Their teenage son Mark assumed his friends had broken in and forged their signatures. But then they checked the dates more carefully. Every family member who'd signed the book had written their entry for exactly 3 days later. And there was more. Below their names were dozens of others, some dating back to 1952. The earliest entry was a couple named the Mitchells, signed for March 15, 1952. In the margins beside their names, someone had written a single word: stay. The family decided to leave immediately. But that night, they couldn't find their car keys. Every door locked from the outside. The phones went dead. By morning, they realized they couldn't leave, not because of anything physical, but because they'd all forgotten why they wanted to leave in the first place. A week later, a property inspector found them still there. They seemed content. When asked about their plans, the father smiled and said they decided to stay longer. He was holding the guest book, ready to write their next entry. The inspector asked him about the dates written inside. How could they have known 3 days in advance? The father's expression went blank. He looked down at the page he was holding, then at the inspector. "What do you mean?" he asked. "We're not writing future dates." The inspector looked at the entry. The date written was 3 days from now, but that the father was insisting they'd written it as today's date. His wife and children, sitting silently in the living room, all nodded in agreement. The inspector left. He reported the incident to local authorities, but when police arrived the next day, the family seemed perfectly normal. They had no memory of the event. They were simply enjoying their inheritance, they said. They planned to stay indefinitely. The property inspector requested the guest book be confiscated as evidence. But when police checked the cabin, the book was gone. In its place, sitting on the front hall table, was a new leather journal, completely empty except for 5 names written on the first page. The inspector's name was at the bottom. His handwriting, his signature, dated for next week. He never returned to that cabin. But 6 months later, a woman called the local police station claiming she was his sister. She said her brother had been missing for months. When they asked her to describe him, she gave a detailed account. Then she paused, confused. She said she couldn't actually remember his face, only his name and that he'd gone to a lake house. The cabin has changed hands 3 times since. Every new owner finds the guest book within hours of moving in. Every new owner plans to stay just a few days. None of them have ever left. On October 14, 2019, a silver Honda Civic was found parked perfectly in the return lot of a Denver car rental agency, but the man who'd rented it 3 days earlier was never found again. His name was Michael Chen, a 34-year-old accountant from Phoenix. He'd rented the car for a weekend trip to the mountains. His credit card was never used again. His phone went dark somewhere near mile marker 187 on Highway 285. His family reported him missing on Monday morning. What came next defied explanation. When the rental company inspected the vehicle, they found it spotless. The mileage showed only 47 miles driven, a trip that should have covered at least 300 miles based on where Michael said he was going. The GPS history had been completely wiped. But here's what made police pause. There were 3 full tanks of gas receipts in the car, all dated to the same day, all from different gas stations, all 80 miles apart from each other. Someone had been driving that car repeatedly back and forth across the same stretch of highway, burning through fuel with no destination. The dash cam footage told a stranger story. For the 47 miles of recorded driving, the video showed Michael in the driver's seat, except his position never changed. His hands never moved on the wheel. His eyes never blinked. For 47 consecutive miles of mountain road, he sat in absolute stillness, staring straight ahead. No turns were corrected. No adjustments were made. It was as if the car was driving itself, and his body was just passenger cargo. One officer noticed something else in the footage. Michael's reflection in the side mirror wasn't always synchronized with his movements. Sometimes it was looking backward when he was looking forward. Sometimes it appeared to be moving its lips, but his actual mouth remained closed. The most disturbing discovery came from the rental agreement. Michael had signed the paperwork with his left hand. He was right-handed. The signature on the return receipt, the one supposedly made when the car was brought back, was written with his right hand, but the letters were reversed, as if written in a mirror. No one saw Michael return the vehicle. The lot camera showed the car appearing in its parking spot between 2:47 a.m. and 2:49 a.m. on Sunday morning. Those 120 seconds of footage were corrupted. When it cleared, the car was there, empty. His body was never recovered. His family still receives postcards, never signed, never dated, showing photographs of Highway 285 from different seasons. The postmarks are always smudged beyond reading. In 2021, 2 years after Michael disappeared, another rental car was found the same way, positioned perfectly in the return lot, mileage far too low, multiple gas receipts from the same highway. The driver, a woman named Sarah Mitchell, was also never found. The dash cam showed her in the exact same position, unmoving, unseeing, her reflection telling a different story. Both cars were from the same rental company. Both vehicles had been serviced at the same mechanic shop. Both had GPS units installed by the same technician. That technician's name was never released to the public, but his employee file shows he quit 3 days after Sarah Mitchell's car was recovered. His forwarding address on file was a house in the mountains. The address corresponds to a location right at mile marker 187. No one lives there now. The property has been abandoned for decades, according to county records. Yet locals report seeing a silver Honda Civic parked in the driveway on certain nights, always between 2:47 and 2:49 a.m. And through the windshield, they say, you can see a figure in the driver's seat, never moving, never leaving, just sitting and staring at the road ahead. The police department eventually closed both cases. Officially, they determined Michael Chen and Sarah Mitchell either fled deliberately or met with accidents in areas where bodies couldn't be recovered. The rental company destroyed both vehicles. But the GPS data from Michael's phone, the data they recovered before it went dead, showed something impossible. In his final hours, before the signal died, his location wasn't moving along the highway. It was circling the same 3-mile stretch, again and again, for 6 hours straight. The center point of that circle, mile marker 187 tiny.
Marcus Chen worked in the Westfield building for 8 years. He never once questioned the elevator buttons, until the day one appeared that shouldn't exist. It was a Tuesday morning when he noticed it. The basement button. But the Westfield building had no basement. He'd reviewed the building schematics during orientation. Floors 1 through 40, period. No sublevels. No storage. Nothing below ground. Marcus pressed it anyway. The elevator descended past the lobby, past the parking garage. The numbers on the display went 1, 0, then something his mind couldn't quite process. A symbol that looked like a backwards S with an extra line through it. The car lurched to a stop. The doors opened. What he saw wasn't darkness or emptiness. It was a hallway. Perfectly normal. Fluorescent lights humming along a beige corridor. Doors lined both sides, each one numbered. 7, 8, 9, try. The numbers went backward, toward negative digits. Marcus stepped out. The air tasted like copper and old paper. He walked toward door 1. His hand trembled as he reached for the handle. It was warm. Whatever was inside, it was alive with heat. He didn't open it. Something stopped him. A sound. Voices. Dozens of them. Coming from inside the room. Whispering his name. Not his work name. His childhood name. The one only his mother had used. The one he hadn't heard in 20 years. Marcus ran back to the elevator. It took him 5 minutes to find the button to go up. It wasn't there. No up arrow. No numbers. Just blank buttons and that impossible symbol repeated over and over. His heart was hammering so hard, he thought his ribs would crack. He pressed every button. The elevator moved. When the doors opened, he was standing in his office. On the 4th floor. His computer was still on. His coffee was still warm. His calendar showed the same date. The same time. 8:47 a.m. The elevator ride had lasted less than 2 minutes. Marcus never took the elevator again. He climbed 40 flights of stairs every single day for the next 6 months. His coworkers made jokes. His knees deteriorated. He didn't care. Then, one morning, his building access card stopped working. The door to the stairwell wouldn't open. There was only one way out. The elevator. He stood in front of it for an hour. His bladder ached. His shift had started. People were texting him. He pressed the button. The doors opened to that same hallway. This time, door 1 was already open. From inside, he heard his mother's voice. Not recorded. Not a memory. Her actual voice calling him for dinner. The way she had when he was 7. When the world made sense. When nothing could hurt him. Marcus stepped toward the open door. His apartment was found 3 days later. Coffee still on the desk. Computer still running. Calendar still showing the date of his disappearance. But something was different. Security footage from the Westfield building showed him entering the elevator every morning for the next year. Exiting. Going to his office. Going about his routine. Perfect. Normal. Never missing a single day. Except his building access card had been deactivated. And according to HR records, Marcus Chen had been fired 8 years ago. He never worked there at all. Yet every morning, the elevator still descends past the parking garage. The backwards still glows on the button panel. And sometimes, if you're standing in the lobby at exactly 8:47 a.m., you can hear voices in that elevator. Whispering names. Calling people home. Man. 3 people walked into a grocery store on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. None of them ever walked back out. It happened at Riverside Market on October 14, 2019. The store had been there for 42 years. Nothing special about it. White linoleum floors, fluorescent lights, the usual smell of produce and cleaning supplies. By all accounts, it was an unremarkable place where unremarkable things happened. Margaret Chen was a regular. Came in every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Same time, same routine. Her daughter Lisa would meet her there sometimes. On this particular day, Lisa was working late, so Margaret went alone. Store footage shows her entering at 2:47 p.m. She grabbed a basket, moved through the aisles with practiced efficiency. Milk, eggs, chicken, vegetables. Nothing unusual. The cameras recorded her approaching checkout lane 3 at 3:14 p.m. This is where it gets strange. Lane 3 had a cashier named David Holloway, 23 years old, worked there for 6 months. The footage shows Margaret in line. Then it shows David scanning her items. Then it just stops. Not the footage. The cameras kept rolling. But for 43 seconds, they captured an empty checkout lane. No Margaret. No David. No customers. Just an abandoned register with a carton of milk sitting on the conveyor belt. When the image returned to normal, both Margaret and David were gone. The milk remained. The receipt was never printed. But here's what makes it worse. There was another customer in line behind Margaret. A woman in a red jacket. The store had exactly 7 customers inside when Margaret entered. After those 43 seconds of missing footage, there were only 5. Margaret and David had vanished. So had the woman in the red jacket. The police investigated. They reviewed every inch of footage. There were no blind spots at checkout lane 3. No way to slip out undetected. The back door had been locked. The emergency exits were monitored. The security system showed all exits sealed during that 43-second window. Margaret's family reported finding her apartment exactly as she'd left it. Keys on the counter. Phone charging on the nightstand. Her Tuesday evening television still queued up. It was as if she'd been erased midday. David's mother received a paycheck in his name 2 weeks later, but it was never cashed. His bank account sat dormant. His social media went silent. The woman in the red jacket was never identified. No missing persons report matched her description. No one came looking for her. Riverside Market closed 3 months later, officially due to low revenue. But employees whispered about Checkout Lane 3, about the way customers would instinctively avoid it, about how the store felt wrong after that day, like something had opened there and never quite closed. The building stands empty now. The checkout lanes have been removed. But if you drive past on a Tuesday afternoon, locals say you can still see something moving behind the glass. Something standing exactly where Lane 3 used to be, waiting in a line that no longer exists.
Next day, there was nothing there. Just an empty lot. Boarded up buildings. No grocery store. The officers thought he was grieving, confused. They suggested she'd run away, but Marcus kept driving past at night. The store reappeared. Same lights. Same impossible depth. And this time, through the front window, Marcus saw something that made his blood freeze. Shopping carts. Dozens of them, lined up in rows. And in each cart, barely visible in the fluorescent haze, sat a person, perfectly still, eyes open, not moving, not breathing that he could tell. One cart held a woman with dark hair. Same height as Sarah. Same coat. Marcus never went inside again, but he started keeping a list. Every night he drove past, he'd note if new people appeared in those carts. By month 3, he'd documented 47 faces. He recognized some from missing persons reports. Local news anchors. A college student from 2 towns over. A night security guard. All of them were in the store. Marcus contacted every agency he could. FBI. State police. Missing persons organizations. He brought them photos he'd taken through the window. Blurry, haunting images of those impossible rows of shopping carts. The photos never developed correctly. They came back black, or showed empty shelves, or displayed different people each time as if the images themselves were changing. Then Marcus disappeared. His supervisor found his car parked on Maple Street at 6 a.m. The driver's side door was open. The engine was still running. Inside the car was a handwritten note on a grocery receipt. It said, "I finally understood. The store doesn't take people, it collects them. And when your cart is full, you understand why you were always meant to shop there. Maple Street is still empty during daylight hours. But at 2 a.m., people report seeing those bright lights. That neon sign. And inside, the rows keep growing. The shopping carts keep multiplying. And sometimes, late at night, you can see new faces among them. Looking out. Waiting. As if they're watching for the next person to open those glass doors. Police have never explained what happened to any of them. The store that appears only in darkness, it's still there. Still collecting. Still waiting for closing time.